The Acid Bath. It was April 1915. In the trenches of Ypres, a group of young Frenchmen joked among themselves while having breakfast with hard bread and cold coffee. The front was silent. It seemed like just another day of waiting, until one of them noticed a strange yellowish cloud slowly moving toward them. They didn't pay attention, thinking it was gunpowder smoke. But soon they began to feel unbearable burning in their throats. What they thought was just gunpowder was actually chlorine gas, an extremely corrosive gas. Their lungs filled with liquid fire as they coughed thick blood, tearing off their uniforms trying to breathe, while their eyes swelled until they burst from the pressure. Those who didn't die instantly agonized in the mud, suffocating for long eternal minutes. The buried alive. On the Somme front, a French soldier was writing a letter to his mother, sitting in the corner of the trench. The noise of artillery seemed distant. Suddenly, a shell fell directly on his position, and before he could react, everything turned into disaster. The explosion was so violent that it collapsed the entire trench. The surviving comrades ran to get out, but that soldier was trapped under tons of wet mud. They heard him screaming as he swallowed dirt uncontrollably. His cries for help drowned in the mud until everything became silence. The letter was buried with him forever. The slow death of the wire. It was midnight. A young Briton advanced in silence, covered by the darkness. He had been ordered to cut the barbed wire to open the way for his comrades. Surely everyone imagines what would happen. As soon as he bent down, his foot got caught in a sharp hook. He tried to free himself, but the more he struggled, the deeper the wires dug into his arms and legs. The blood seemed like an endless fountain soaking his uniform. He was left hanging, trapped in the void, screaming for hours. No one dared rescue him. Going out meant dying under enemy fire. At dawn, his body was a mass of shredded, unrecognizable flesh, still hooked to the metal. The fire pit. In July 1916, near Verdun, a German platoon stored fuel for flamethrowers in an improvised cave. Outside it rained, and inside some soldiers warmed themselves with lit cigarettes. What they didn't know was that a French shell was already on its way. The impact burst the tanks and turned the cave into a giant oven. The burning liquid stuck to the skin like glue. The soldiers ran covered in flames, trying to rip off their clothes. But the fire clung, as if it were part of their bodies, because of the fuel. The screams were so inhuman they sounded like dying animals. None managed to survive, unfortunately. The cruel sniper. In a muddy trench, a French soldier, barely 19 years old, dared to raise his head. He only wanted to take a look at the front. A German sniper was already waiting for him. In less than 2 seconds, the bullet entered through his jaw and destroyed the entire lower part of his face. He fell on his back, conscious, but without mouth or tongue to ask for help. His hands tried to hold what was left of his face as he bled, censored word, slowly. It took him almost an hour to die. His comrades could do nothing but watch him and cry for him. The Ghost Hospital. In a medical tent near Arras, a British soldier wounded in the leg waited his turn to be treated. He smiled weakly, convinced that he had survived the worst. But the worst was still to come. Without antibiotics, his wound became infected in a matter of days. The skin of his thigh turned black, and the smell of rotting flesh filled the room. The doctors decided to amputate, but they barely had chloroform, so they made the most logical and most sensible decision possible. They held him down with 4 men while they cut into living flesh. His screams tore through the tent. His body couldn't withstand the shock, and he died with his eyes open, as if he could still feel the knife blade on his skin. The supply train incident. In 1917, a group of French soldiers loaded ammunition into a wagon near the front. They laughed nervously, smoking cigarettes to calm their fear. One accidentally dropped a box of grenades. A single spark was enough. The entire wagon exploded, throwing iron fragments and bodies dozens of meters away. Some soldiers were reduced to unrecognizable pieces, stuck to the stone walls. Those who didn't die instantly suffered the loss of multiple body parts, crawling as best they could while the gunpowder reserves burned. The bayonet charge incident. On the Somme, a British platoon received the order to leave the trench and charge against German positions. The captain tried to sound motivating, promising it would be quick and glorious. The moment they lifted their heads, they were met with a rain of machine gun fire. One soldier was hit in the stomach, falling to the ground in a scene too terrible to describe. Let's just say his organs were not where they should have been. He tried to hold them with his hands, but they kept slipping out of his body. Probably one of the worst and most painful incidents. The drowning trench incident. On the Flanders front, a British soldier, barely 20 years old, walked through the trench after endless rain. The ground was pure liquid mud. His boots sank with every step. He laughed with a comrade, saying it felt like walking in quicksand. He didn't know how real that joke was. A shell fell nearby and threw him into the bottom of a crater full of mud. He tried to get out, but the mud swallowed him faster than he could move. His comrades watched him sink little by little, arms outstretched, until only his helmet remained floating. He screamed until the last second, smothered by earth and water. There are those who admire soldiers for their bravery, and we must honor those who went through this for us, to defend their own country, even with their life.